So here, this is in continuation with what we discussed in last video. Now, what I'm going to discuss here is a bit about security management planning. So, what is security management planning? Basically, we have seen that there exists a security governance in a company. And I said that the information security policy of the company works as an engine um, to run the security governance basically. But what is inside this engine? What is happening inside? What are the various nut bolts and what are the various components of this security governance? One thing which is there is the information security policy document, which is conceived in three stages, which I discussed, I think, in my second or third video. You can refer that. Now, once we have this holy book, this information security policy with us, then there then we require actually some people who can run this whole policy document and make it real on ground, right? So we all know that in any company we have different hierarchy. Similarly, we have when we talk of security management planning, we should have this understanding in our mind that when we say security management planning, we are actually uh, in fact saying that we are gonna plan to land the aeroplane of information security policy on a runway, which is our business or an organization. So this planning actually ensures proper creation, implementation, and enforcement of security policy. That's what the book says. I have just noted it down here. Now, security management planning is always a top-down approach if it has to work. In some organization, you may see that there are people who are following a specific bottom-up approach, but that is not sustainable. Most of the company, when you do some specific security related measures by your own, if you are a database administrator or a network administrator and you take some initiative on your own, it's appreciated to a certain level. But when it comes to money cost and when it comes to the overall compliance with the regulatory or auditing or the legislative requirement, legislative ecology where the company exists, you will get some backlash. So it's always top down approach which is implemented in almost all company. There we have senior management who is actually doing the initiation, and they define policy or refine policy. All those high level work is done by senior management, and they actually hold the accountability of maintaining a information security policy document basically. Then you have a middle management which actually carves out or you flesh out the security policy into a specific documents which can be used by operational managers or engineers. So what they make out of the information security policy, they make standards, they make baseline, they make guidelines and procedures. So these are the specific terms. Let me quickly refer it here. So if you see, security policy is basically a compulsory document. It outlines security framework. It contains security objectives, visions, goals, senior management's due diligence proof. All those things are there in the security policy. And out of the security policies, you have standards, baseline, guidelines, and procedures. So, what are standards? Standards are basically the mandatory requirement. So, if you have data at rest, you may have a mandatory requirement which says that we use AES 256 encryption. or for transport layer security, we use SSL, or for hashing we use MD5. So those kind of things are standards. So if there is any deviation in a standard, that has to be discussed before with senior managers, and take a security override documentation, and then we can think of, you know, having a different standards. But the standards are basically the the mandatory thing. You can't change on your own. Baseline is considered as the minimum security requirement for a given platform or for a given technology in the company, right? So these baselines are basically, to give you an example, like the operating system image, the base image which is deployed on any computer, it sets a baseline of security. Now a specific user may need something more, or may not need certain things in the baseline, so that can be changed up and down. But from a definition point of view, it's the minimum security requirement which a company should have in place. That's called baseline. What are guidelines? Guidelines actually refers standard and baseline, like how we can implement it in the best way. It can come from the product vendor, it can come from the service provider, or you may yourself develop guidelines in for engineers, that you know, if you are going to deploy certain technology, if you are going to deploy let's say a third party connectivity, how your extranet will look like, how your IPsec configuration should look like. So those are the guidelines, and it will refer which standard we are gonna deploy, or which baseline you know, we should achieve with this for this technology. So those things are coming, will come in guideline. And procedures are basically step by step you know, process, the baby steps taken by engineers, L1 L2 engineers, who will use this step by step procedure to actually implement changes on certain product or certain in certain environment, to achieve the security outcome, basically to achieve the security goal, right? Not outcome. Outcome is the wrong word here. So yeah, so these are the things which comes under middle management, basically. So we were here. So middle management flesh out the security policy into standard, baseline, guidelines, and procedures, and this will be handed over to operational managers or security professionals. They will implement the configuration prescribed. So this is the hierarchy. These are the teams, basically. Security management planning also prioritize the task in strategic, tactical, and operational plans. We all know a strategic is a long-term vision, like what we are going to do in next 2 years or 5 years time. Tactical is quarter on quarter basis, what we are going to do. It may not be quarter by quarter. It may be in next 2 months, or it may be half yearly plan. But the real distinguishing factor between the strategic and technical and operational is the degree of involvement we have on that plan. If something is happening on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, and is tracked by a project manager every week and every month, it's kind of operational plan which we are targeting, and it will achieve something tactical, and those tactical thing will actually achieve some strategic goal for a company, right? Also these are not only the security management planning. The business itself has got some strategic, tactical, and operational plans. So the security planning has to catch up those business plan, right? This is also very important for us to understand. That's all for this video. In this video we discussed about security management planning, what are the different teams, and what is a security function basically. It's a development and implementation of information security strategy. I think we discussed a lot in this video. Let's close this video, and we will next discuss security organizational processes and security roles. Security roles are very important in from an examination point of view. There are many questions on that, so we will take some extra care when we discuss this one. Okay, thanks for watching the video. Let's meet in the next video.